Chinese, and various different languages. So it's very exciting that people are really interacting. And of course, children really are the ones who love it and who really have thoughts that are quite, interesting and deep.
Yes, and very much outside the conditioned response to climate change. Because right now what we do is, if somebody asks me about climate change, most of the time what comes out is a conditioned response.
Well, I think this is a problem, that we've had overexposure to the whole climate change thing, and we're a little bit bored of it. Plus, it's all scientific facts, and I really wanted to use the art and the poetry to relate to it through your heart, as it were, so that you actually feel it. And that's the purpose of having the art, which usually one has to kind of access through one's heart, really, and poetry as well, but then underpinning it with the science, so that you have the combination. It's a very odd combination. I've never used that combination before, but yeah, I think it seems to be working. I hope it works.
I believe there are a few more images. There you go. This was one of the installations as well, wasn't it?
Yes, that's part of the major installation at the Dutch hospital that is on the street, and written, the science is also in there in Sinhalese, Tamil and English, and all the interaction also as well.
All these, even the installations are copies of actual paintings, and the creation of which has several media in it as well.
Yes, I mean those are not copies of paintings. They're actually created from various bits of paintings and various bits of painted works, and so they're actually original pieces, if you like, in that sense, except that they are printed, they're digitally shown, but they're digital from paintings, and that's how those paintings are. The other works are, of course, different media. I've been working on iPad,
so which is also something new.
Yes, that's, I think, new to Sri Lanka anyway, at an exhibition, and that's such fun because you're painting with your fingers again, like you did when you were a kid, right? So that's very exciting. I really love doing that, and I've been working with using photos of my visits to various places that really have inspired my art, and then working on them again. And so that's different. And then I've also used a glass sculpture installation. It's 8 pieces of glass, all interacting with words about loving nature, if you like. It's actually from Wordsworth, from Audubon, from Thoreau, from Tagore, talking about how man needs to love nature and how much nature loves her. The whole conversation between man and nature, really.
Now, throughout your exhibitions, you see that interrelationship coming up. Now, when I was there, I could see that almost every painting has some figure of a man. You just have to look. Generally, it's more than that, and there would just be, maybe just an idea of them being there. So we are either witnesses to it within the painting or actually doing something, and we are witnesses to it as standing right in front of the painting as well. Could you tell me about
what I perhaps I mean, that seems to happen anyway in my paintings, and it happens in a very odd way, which is kind of quite scary sometimes, that figures seem to almost emerge out of the painting. But I really feel that, again, we see ourselves as separate from nature. Nature's there, and we're here in this studio, which is all man-made, and so we are so much stuck in man-made locations and buildings and environments. We forget that actually, when we stand naked, we are nature, and that is what I wanted to bring in, the idea that we are absolutely intrinsically part of nature.
Totally entwined with nature.
Yes, we are nature. We are nature. And why are we hurting ourselves? Why are we hurting the ground that we stand on, the raft which is our earth?
Yes, and your exhibitions definitely convey that very well.
Does that
three separate exhibitions. They are all on the same theme, but intrinsically they're different. How are they different?
Right. At the Gallery Cafe exhibition, it's all called Deliverance, basically. It's more mixed media works on paper and some works that are oil on canvas. So more traditional works, definitely abstract expressionist, however you like to call it, but they're those sort of works. And then we then move on to works at the Saskia Fernando Gallery, where it's more contemporary, in that there are works which are digital on various different materials, and glass the glass sculptures, and the iPad art. So it's a very different thing. Then we move to what's on at the Dutch Hospital, and that is street art. It's digital. It's actually taught with the science as well as the poetry. The other two exhibitions also have the poetry as a very intrinsic part of it, and so that's an important element that runs through all three exhibitions. The science is more importantly there in a very accessible way. You know, we had to that was a bit difficult to try and work out how to pitch it. But I hope it's accessible, and it's in all three languages. And that's all there in the Dutch hospital, open to the rain and the sky.
Open to the elements, to be part of nature.
Yes.
Part with nature.
Yes, yes.
And also I wanted to ask now, each one of your paintings, or each one of your art pieces has a piece of poetry next to it, written by Ramya Shamli Jarasinghe. Could you tell me about her inspirations and why you thought she was the best accompaniment for your work?
I'd read her poetry, and it's very deep and very to the heart, for me anyway, or cuts to the bone almost. And I relate to it, and I've been admiring her work, and she's been responding to mine. And I asked her, would she possibly consider writing some poetry for Deliverance? And she was thrilled, and she came, and we decided that she wasn't going to see anything till the end. And so once all the work was done, the whole body of work was up in my library floor, and she went through it one by one, and she said, don't tell me what it's about, don't tell me anything about it. And she got it. She got it, and she got it so well that she fell down the stairs, had to, actually couldn't drive for weeks, and so I feel very bad, but she was so like blown away and loved it, and has totally related to it. So interestingly, the poetry came after the paintings. She saw the paintings, and she went home and wrote the poem Deliverance. And then the titles are taken from this one poem, and a couple of titles that she's thought of, but all the titles are by Ramya. And then I wanted to relate the glass installation, which has got words on it, also to a poem. But of course, they're words by Wordsworth and great poets, Tagore. And I said to her, well, can you write a poem about that? She said, I can't possibly write a poem with other people's poetry as well. I said, but why not?
This eternal question is why?
Why not? Exactly. Well, you know, that's me. So then she said, this is a real challenge. But she took it on, and that is also stunning, because it's got sort of rap sections and very prose sections, and it's absolutely wonderful poetry.
Now, unfortunately, we are heading towards the very last part of the interview, but before we go, could you tell our viewers where they can see the exhibitions and till when they have this opportunity, because it's not going to be open forever. There is a time limit on it.
Yeah, it's open till the 18th of July, and on at the Gallery Cafe, the Paradise Road Galleries at Gallery Cafe, at Saskia Fernando Gallery, which is in Dharmapala, Malta, and then at the Dutch Hospital and the entrance courtyard, facing the World Trade Center.
The one with all the exposed to the elements, of course.
The one that's exposed to the element. But of course, one at the Gallery Cafe is also exposed, because there's a little section in which they hang down and the rain is falling in on top of them.
Yes, that is pretty fabulous. I liked that. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I know it has been
lovely
a true
to
honor.
talk to you. Thank you, Prami.
Yes, and good luck with the exhibitions.
Thank you so much.
Definitely very inspiring work. And right now, we are going to go for a short commercial break. I'll see you guys on the other side with a lot more Good Morning Sri Lanka.